Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Today is the final day of online matches of the entire 22-23 season and loads of crazy storyline to get into today. iLLeY returning to 8 for the first time in a very long time, but also the New York subliners deciding to make a roster change for their final game of the online qualifier matches. This is a very strange decision. I haven't seen anything like this in recent memory, and Octane reckons from his perspective, it's a terrible call and absolutely insane. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, let's talk about this Boston FaZe series. Really interesting one, to be honest. Boston had a great chance to win this game one. I do think FaZe have still taken some steps in their respawn games. Beating Boston in 2 hard points is not easy, but their control is still pretty lackluster, to be honest. I mean, this is a setup here that Boston have where you would think that they should really be closing this one out, but yeah, in the end it doesn't go their way. I think maybe Vivid get caught off here, and then Beans is kind of stuck in no man's land. But yeah, this is certainly a moment you'd have thought, looking at this, that it should have potentially gone Boston's way. Doesn't though. Cammy gets in the hill, gets one, eventually is traded out. Slasher has like 2 minutes and then is almost double positive, so pretty impressive from him. Like the third person cam from these guys. They put together somehow the game 1 victory. They won the game 2 as well, very comfortable. And game 3 though went Boston's way. Again, FaZe's control has been, back in Cold War, they were winning 75-80% of their controls, maybe more to be honest at times, at least when they were on a really good stretch of form, whereas this season their control's been probably 50-50, but it doesn't matter when Simp's playing like this. He basically gets a quad feed to him and it's absolutely absurd. Simp it's funny with Simp, right, because when you watch him, when you tune in with him, like in his POV, when they're watching him, the observers, he often looks like this. He makes great decisions, he always is shooting straight, but sometimes it just hasn't been translating into actually good stats so far this season. This game though was insane from Simp, 42 and 18. The other week didn't we see Kenny go 18 and 42 or something? So this was the other way around here for Simp, and you don't often see maps like this where, I mean, when Simp's playing like this, it seems like there's nothing you can do to stop him. He just has all the awareness in the world, just knows where they're going to be from, and preems at the perfect time. It just absolutely melts people. So yeah, nearly 4,500 damage. Ridiculous map there from Simp. It was funny really because so far this season it's been the aBeZy show out of the Tiny Terrors, but yeah, maybe if end of season Simp is turning up here, that's going to be pretty scary for the opposition. A minute 20 in hill as well, so they take down Boston, and that actually avoids the FaZe 3-2 curse in a way, or if you guys consider it to be a curse, just because they've been 3-2 in so many of their last qualifier runs. This time they're 4-1, so I mean, if they're 4-1, they're going to be even better than they usually are come the major, and I do think they can be a force this major, no doubt about it, but they will probably, if they want to win, have to beat OpTic at some point or another, and that has obviously proved to be a challenge for them. Slash is a happy man though, because the loudness equalization cheese is now gone. No more worries about that. Of course, when you play Boston, you know they're using it, and I don't know if FaZe were necessarily. I know that Slasher likes to not use it to ensure that he's playing as he would when it comes to LAN, which is why there's obviously been some debate about Boston. And honestly, looking at the CDL standings right now, Boston are sitting at 180, Rokkr at 170, I think Vegas are at 160. So Boston are actually not safe, right, at all. And if they had have not used the online loudness equalization on LAN against Rokkr in the series, they might have lost there, and it could have been Boston the ones that Vegas were chasing to knock out our champs rather than Rokkr. So it's actually not out of the question either, because we saw yesterday's surge, like, you know, they could potentially still not make champs. It's definitely also the case possibly for the Boston Breach as well. Crump has a really rough series, probably his first real stinky series so far in the CDL, but in fairness, as does aBeZy on the other side, the man that might well win the MVP this season, certainly in the top conversation, drops a 0.6 here. It doesn't really matter because Simp picks up the slack, but it's definitely interesting to see aBeZy have one of his worst series of the season, and yet they still find a way through it and to win. OpTic though, of course, 3-0 last match against their Florida Mutineers. That sets up a 5-0 situation. I thought it was crazy in a way that the closest OpTic came to losing was against Vegas in the first game they played. They went to game 5 round 11 and they won it against Vegas, but Vegas's run is even more impressive when you think about it, because they played OpTic, FaZe, Subliners, Surge and Rokkr. That's a really hard run of qualifying matches, and looking into it, I'd have said if they get 2 wins out of those 5, they'll have done pretty well, and even 1 win would have been maybe almost expected in a way, but to get 3 wins out of that, and almost to get 4, I mean, they could have beaten OpTic in that first game they played, was pretty incredible, and Vegas are certainly looking good. Obviously, as OpTic say, solid online showing, eyes forward to Toronto, because Dashy, given, you know, he's Canadian of course, wants to get the W there. They came last year to the Toronto event, couldn't quite get over over the line. But speaking of some of the OpTic guys, iLLeY is back in business, for now at least, as Prolute says. 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, Chal, anyone wants to come in. iLLeY says, link up, I'm getting in there. And then I believe there was some S&D8s going down here between iLLeY, Maul, Spart, and Drazah, with Prolute, Alec, Capsule, and Zink on the other side of things. So yes, iLLeY back in business, and I'll just share this clip here from Drazah's stream, where he hit some pretty disgusting sniper rifle shots.
He's cat room to you, he's cat room to cat room top bed. Alright. Actually, I think I think we're back to connector. Could be like close out tub.
It's hot tub or something.
Top door.
Oh my god!
Holy fucking go, baby. Bro. I don't even have a pistol on
Bro,
this class.
oh my god! Let's go in there? Oh, nah, why did I know you were gonna hit this? Why did I know that was gonna hit? That's oh my god.
So he's certainly still got what it takes with the sniper. I don't know when the last time it's even loaded up Call of Duty, but it's been quite some time, right? At least from on his private or his public account, sorry, that we can actually see him play. Or maybe he's been playing on an alternate account for some time. But yeah, it's been strange with iLLeY because we have no idea really what's going on there, what his plans are. Obviously, he's not going to return now this season, right? It's got to be going into next year. And of course, I suppose this is the perfect time to make the return. Make sure your name is on the map yet again around this kind of time, because after Major 5, teams will start thinking about what their moves will be going into the new season. And then the teams that make champs will do so rather shortly after that. So really wants to kind of put his name back in the shop window, as it were. And I thought it was interesting that Arcitys say, meet you into the new trio. Of course, he's just mentioning playing in Charles and stuff like this, I imagine. But still, maybe Arcitys, maybe Pristini even could duo up again, because we saw this from Arcitys as well, where he adds Pristini, and potentially that could be a duo. Of course, twin brothers, right? Non-identical twin brothers. Could possibly make this one work, and even as iLLeY says at Prolute, something's never changed. So, yes, iLLeY's definitely looking to make the return relatively shortly indeed, and hopefully it goes well for him, but we just don't really know what happened with him, still what the situation is, why he was dropped from OpTic. The story is still quite unclear, but it's good to see him back on the Call of Duty servers at the very least. Let's dive into then what I would consider the most interesting story of the day, is the Nuke subliners situation. Rumours are emerging shortly after the final series of last night between Boston and FaZe that Wardy will be filling in for Skies. Wardy was a player that last season was in the same category as Beans. Like, those are the two biggest talents coming out of UK challenges last year. Beans is now on Boston. Wardy went to go to, of course, the subliners. He might have had an opportunity on London. It's kind of unclear exactly whether they gave him an offer to start or whether he just decided that being a sub for New York was the best way to go. And I don't really blame him, to be honest, right, given the way that London tend to be. But yeah, Wardy, SMG talent, SMG superstar, you could argue. And he's been doing some decent things in challenges this season. Hasn't exactly, lit the world on fire, as it were, but he's still been pretty good. And this has since been confirmed by the subliners themselves. This is their plan, to sub in Wardy for Skies in their match against the Boston Breach. Reason as yet unspecified, although it does get explained shortly after by Kismet and then by their coach Daryl. So, as Kismet says, Wardy is playing for Caesar Skies tomorrow. Everything is fine in the squad. We're in a great place as a squad and wanted to give someone close to us a great opportunity to showcase his talents for his future career. So, on one side, it's like, this is really cool, right? They're giving Wardy a chance, their sub player, to step in. We know that back in the Modern Warfare 2019 season, when Doug Sensor Martin was on the subliners bench, he was begging the starting team to put him in for a game. He was like, look, please put me in. Just not even necessarily to stay there always, but just to show what he could do. But they effectively refused to do it, and he was, consigned to the bench, because that season he could even play challenges because of the rules around substitutes and this type of stuff that weren't refined as well as they are today. But yeah, just some reaction to this here from Aches and also from Octane, that says this is an absolutely outrageous idea from them. In his opinion, he says, look, you're doing pretty well now, feeling confident going into the major. You want to get all the good practice you can get, rather than subbing in a player for a role that actually he's not even used to playing on.
And they're just playing with a sub just to simply.
Isn't Wardy also like an actual sub? Like
he's been a
sub player?
He's done his best on a sub. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's little. It's just weird. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, someone's running an AR that doesn't run one tomorrow, so.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, what do you guys think about sending in a sub just to get some reps?
This is not the time nor the place for that, bro.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's not
this
the
is
time
not
nor
the time
the place. Why
nor
now?
the place for that. This is your last match in a
it, but
non-scrim competitive setting going into a major tournament. I could be playing anyone. It does not matter, bro. I don't care if I am 5-0, haven't lost a map yet. I'm not playing with a different person on my roster.
Sam. I see the Bulldog in the chat. He said he's running the flex. I mean, Bulldog.
Nah, bro. Like that's just that. Like I respect it from Wardy's perspective because it's really good exposure for him to play in the league. But bro, you're going into a Major 5 tournament, like last match. Like,
he's in the
this
Sunday
is not
of
the
a
time.
cup. Like, is he gonna be able to play his cup matches? Like, you have these challenges.
Listen, bro, I don't respect it at all.
No.
Man.
Unless Caesar is like genuinely cannot play, which the way that New York is making it out to be is that this is like a voluntary thing that they're just putting him in. This isn't like a Caesar can't play situation.
Even if Caesar was throwing up, I don't respect it at all. Play the game.
Yeah, it's a pretty insane decision. I can't lie.
So it turns out that Skies is going to be gone, Wardy's in, and Kismet is going to be on the flex apparently. So it's a bit strange, right? Because if you were to do that, maybe you'd think, all right, Wardy comes in for Kismet because obviously he's an SMG player, typically Wardy, and I guess he's going to play the SMG here. Has Sky said, you know what, it's fine, I'll take a day off, I'll go to the pub or something like that and just enjoy watching the game from there. But yeah, so as Dareel says, Skies is completely fine. Last game of the online season, we wanted to give Wardy the main stage, albeit online experience against Boston. So, to build him up to the future, but also he's going to showcase his talents some more guys are demons. So they're putting some pressure on Wardy actually, because he's got one game to prove what he's worth effectively. But I'm sure they know that he's good anyway. But definitely really interesting one. As Drill says, we have something incredible this season. Everyone's on board and on the same page for someone who's been a huge part of our season. Testament to the brothers that we have. So I guess they just want to kind of give back to Wardy in some sense, because yes, he's just the sub, but he might be helping them out in certain aspects of the game, and he's with them, I'm sure, a fair bit at the time when they go to the majors as well. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Do you agree with Octane's take? Because Octane's like, look, we would never do this. Absolutely insane decision to limit the amount of practice that you might potentially get with your starting team at a very crucial time in the season. Very good for Wardy. It's cool to see him get the opportunity, but and I kind of like what Subliners are doing in a way, but I just feel it's really strange and surprising. On the other side of the story, would you see Boston just say, all right, yeah, we're going to get dug in for this series? Probably not, right? They want to, as much as they possibly can, all the 10 points matter for them. And in fairness for the Subliners, their 10 points, it doesn't matter too much, because in terms of World Championship qualification, they're probably going to be the 4th or the 5th seed anyway, and Thieves are probably going to be the 4th or the 5th seed, so they're probably playing Thieves round 1 at Champs, is how it comes down to. So they probably don't mind too much about the 10 points, and would prefer to give back to Wardy, or to at least give him a better chance of going through. As you guys can see right here, that's the most likely outcome, is that, Subliners Thieves round 1 of the World Championship. But it does mean that for the teams around the Boston breach, they'll be kind of annoyed with Subliners, right? Because by allowing this change, New York are giving Boston a better chance to win, and those 10 points would be pretty big if you are a Surge, a Rokkr, or a Vegas that might not be so happy about this decision. So yeah, really intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Difficult to make my mind up, but I'm not exactly sure what my opinion on this is. But historically, Subliners do tend to have the better of Boston in their history. Generally, it's gone New York's way so far, and I feel like it might still go their way, to be fair. But these are the standings. They're not actually fully updated here, because the FaZe and Boston series did happen, so it's 4-1 for FaZe, 2-2 for Boston. The remarkable thing is that after today, there could be 6 teams tied at 3-2, because if Ultra lose to Rokkr, they're both 3-2, and if Boston beat Subliners, which again could happen, they're both tied at 3-2, with Vegas and Florida already at 3-2. So that would mean there's a 6-way 3-2 tiebreaker, which then you'd look at the map count, and the worst map count, I'm pretty sure, out of all of those would go to Vegas and Florida. Now, Vegas outdo Florida on strength of schedule, because Vegas had a very hard strength of schedule, and therefore they make it because the teams they played finished higher on average than Florida's teams they played did. But in that scenario, Vegas would probably be 7th, and they'd play FaZe round 1. So Vegas really need either Ultra to just win against Rokkr tonight, which would be massive for them anyway, because it wouldn't give them the 10 points, and then, so let's say Toronto were to beat Rokkr, then Vegas would be like 5th at maximum, so they probably would have a slightly more favourable first round game, but even then, they'd still probably play Ultra or FaZe round 1, so it's going to be tricky for Vegas, is the long and the short of it, in the first round of the major anyway, but they really need Toronto to beat Rokkr tonight, and then we'll see from there how the standings play out this evening. So these are the games. Rokkr Ultra first up, massive matchup, of course, for Rokkr and the Vegas Legion season. I will take Toronto to win it. I think it's going to be a 3-2. I think it's going to be a close fought affair, but Rokkr, their Search and Destroy didn't look too impressive the other day. I think Toronto will get the better of them. Then Ravens, Thieves. Surely Thieves get the job done. I'll give them a hot 3-0. They've got to do something in this series, surely. And then Boston Subliners. I'm still going to take subliners in like a 3-2 here. I don't know. Boston potentially should win this, and it's going to be more interesting, I think, now with Wardy in the roster for subliners. But there's something about the fundamentals on Boston that I'm just not fully comfortable with them, you know, predicting them to win series like this. But very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.